Hello, I'm Chad Bogart. I'm the Museum Curatorial Assistant here at Sycamore Shoals State Historic Park. And today we're going to talk a little bit about money in the 18th century. Of course, during this time period we were colonies of Great Britain, and so the monetary system that was in use here in the colonies was that of Great Britain. And it was called the pounds, shillings, pence system. And that same system was in effect up until about the 1960s, early 1970s, when Great Britain changed over to the decimal system. But we have a few examples of some coins and some money. Most of them are reproductions, but I do have some original pieces from that time period. So we're going to talk a little bit about the money of the time period and how it might equate to money today, to kind of give you an idea of the value of these pieces as we were talking about in the 18th century. So the very smallest denomination of money back in that time was called the farthing, and it kind of is about the size of our penny today. But the farthing is 1/4 of a penny. So it takes 4 farthings to make a penny, and this is your British penny of the 18th century. It's about the size of our quarter today. These are made of copper, and so we think about money today, you think, how in the world could you break down a penny even smaller? Well, money went a lot further back then than it does today, and so this is your penny, and then there was half of that, which is a halfpenny, or a halfpenny as it was called in the 18th century. So you have your penny, your halfpenny or halfpenny, and your 1/4 of a penny or farthing. So these are your small denominations of coins in the 18th century. Now, there are 12 pennies or 12 pence to a shilling. And a shilling would be a silver coin in the 18th century. And this is probably one of the most widely known coins at that time. Shillings were denoted with an S, and pennies were denoted with a D. Now, if you go to the hardware store today and you buy nails, you can buy a 10-penny nail, and it's marked on the box 10D. And so that's a holdover from the old way of demarking a penny back in the 18th century, was by a D. And that was from the old Latin phrase of a denarii. There are 20 shillings per pound. I don't have a pound coin or a pound note because it would be very expensive to own today. But that was the main system of money back in those days, was the pound, the English pound, and that was in sterling silver. And you still hear English people today giving amounts and prices in pounds. So there are 12 pennies per shilling and 20 shillings per pound. Now, the pound can be broken down into smaller increments. You have the crown, which there are 4 crowns to a pound, and then you also have the half crown, which would be 2.5 shillings. So those are just some smaller denominations of coins. Probably the coin that was worth the most in that time period is the guinea, and this is a gold coin, and it's worth 21 shillings. This is 1 shilling more than a pound. Guineas are called guineas because the gold came from the coast of West Africa, from Guinea, to make these coins, and so that's why they're called guineas. Guineas were not something that you would probably carry around in your pocket in the 18th century, since they were so valuable. Guineas would be used for large transactions of money, and they're still used today, the term guinea, for large transactions of money, say like on something to the equivalent of our stock market or a big horse race or something like that. They would use the term guineas. Now, moving on to probably one of the more bizarre coins of the 18th century, and that is the Spanish milled dollar. This would be a silver coin. Even though it's a Spanish dollar, it was used as legal currency all over the world in the 18th century, and also here in the American colonies. This is called a milled dollar because the edge of the coin has these little grooves on it, just like our quarter and our dime today has those little grooves all the way around the outside of the coin. That's the same way with this coin here. And the reason those grooves were cut into the coin like that is to keep people honest. If this coin were smooth on the outside edge, an unscrupulous trader or a dishonest merchant might take a knife and scrape off a tiny minute bit of silver off of the edge of the coin, keep it in a bag, and after he'd done that several hundred times, he'd have that bag full of silver dust, and he could melt it down and sell it. But since those grooves are on the edge of that coin, you can't shave off the edge of the coin because someone will know that it's been tampered with. Now this coin, there's no smaller denominations of this coin. So to make change, you literally had to cut the coin into pieces. And so you might have heard in the old pirate movies where they talk about pieces of 8. Well, that's exactly what this is. It can be broken up into 8 pieces. Now, if you wanted a half dollar, you simply cut the coin in half, and you had 2 half dollars. If you wanted a fourth of a dollar, you would cut one of those halves in 2 to make a quarter, or a quarter of a dollar. Or you can break it down into smaller pieces called bits, and these 8 bits make up a dollar. And you might have heard the old poem, 2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, a dollar, all for your favorite team, stand up and holler. Well, that's where this comes from. Now the term for a quarter of a dollar, calling it 2 bits, that lasted well up into the second half of the last century. So you've heard the old saying, shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Well, 2 bits is a quarter, or what we call 25 cents today. So it's funny how those old sayings still stick around, and we might not even know where they come from. Now, to give you an idea of how much this money would kind of equate to our money today, so let's say you had 1 pound sterling in the 18th century. That would be the same as about 180 pounds in today's money, which would equate to about $240 in today's money. So one of these farthings, the smallest coin in the British monetary system, would equal about 25 cents in today's money. So that just kind of shows you the exchange rate in the past 250 years. The guinea, we were talking about the guinea being the gold coin. Like I said, this would be the equivalent of 21 shillings in the 18th century. It'd be the equivalent of carrying around about $300 in your pocket today. Not many people are going to carry around $300 in your pocket in cash today, and that's the same reason back in the old days. If you did get robbed, you wouldn't want to lose all that money. So that's just a very small slice of looking into a very common aspect of life 250 years ago, the British monetary system.